garage lighting. Hola! I'm Mike, the backyard mechanic, and I'm not too bright because the lighting in my garage sucks. By default, garages come with one light fixture. My bathroom has 6 light bulbs. I need better lighting, but I'm really busy working on cars. I don't have a lot of time to spend on this. Let's figure it out. And stay tuned until later. This guy has another video. I think he was killed by a tree. Also a sneak preview to a future member of the show. So adorable. And the cat's cute too. My personal favorite is LED tube lights. I've installed tube lights in my garage 4 times now. These are the ones I bought. Link in the description. I like this particular brand because they're cheap. Hey, all these lights are the same. Someone buys them in bulk off of Alibaba and sells them on Amazon. These are 6500 Kelvin, so they'll cast a bit of a blue light. 6500 is about there. They're only 4400 lumens and they use 40 watts. Seems like not very much, despite I know from experience they light up the garage very well. The only cons is they take a few minutes to set up, whereas the ones I'm about to show you just screw into an existing socket. I guess we'll see how they hold up in the comparison test. These LED lights are quite popular. The style is called Deformable, which sounds like something out of a bad superhero movie. Or something Hillary Clinton might call you, but the word is technically correct. Flexible, foldable, whatever. The reviews are all surprisingly good for how cheap they are. Depending on how many directions you need light, you can get these in 3 fins, or 4, or 5, or 6, or 7, or 8. But which to get? 6,000 lumens, 9,000 lumens, 12,000 lumens. One of these has 16,000 lumens. This one's 18,000 lumens. They're all 6500 Kelvin. If you're not familiar with a Kelvin color temperature chart, try and guess what it is and I'll tell you if you're hot or cold. Warmer? Colder? Come on, I just showed you. Warmer? You're not doing it, are you? This is the chart right here. Like the tube lights, most garage lights are 6500K, which is quite blue. Some people don't like blue light and say it hurts their eyes. Others think it's brighter and cleaner. This is just not the route to go if you're looking to shoot cinematography like Francis Ford Coppola. I got this modest 3-leaf 8000 lumen light and it's 80 watt. Not too hot. On the extreme end, I got this 6-leaf, which is 20,000 lumens and 200 watts. 20,000 lumens? Wait, what exactly is a lumen? I'm back, bitch. A lumen is a unit of measurement for luminous flux, which represents the total amount of visible light emitted by a source per second, meaning it excludes ultraviolet and infrared light waves. Infrared waves are beyond red and generate heat. They cook your food. Ultraviolet waves cannot be seen. They cook your skin. Ultraviolet means beyond violet. Say, that would make me Ultra Mike. Visible color makes up a small amount of the electromagnetic spectrum, between 400 and 700 nanometers. In layman's terms, lumens measure how bright a light appears to the human eye. When light bulbs were referenced in watts, that was actually a measurement of how much energy the bulb used, including all of the light waves and heat. An incandescent bulb was essentially a toaster under glass. 1 lumen is comparable to the dim glow of a nightlight or LED indicator on a device. 800 lumens is the amount of a traditional 60-watt incandescent bulb, while 1500 lumens compares to a 100-watt incandescent bulb. 3000 is about the brightness of a high-beam headlight on a car. This 8000 lumen light should be like 2 high-beam headlights focused on the same spot. because technically the human eye perceives brightness logarithmically rather than linearly. In layman's terms, while 8,000 is 5.3 times brighter than 1,500, the human eye will perceive it to be 2.6 times brighter. That was closer to 1,500 lumens, but I guess we'll let Grease Monkey me sort that out. 5,000 lumens is equivalent to a street light. 8,000 lumens compares to a large bonfire. A welding arc can emit 20,000 lumens. The sun, as perceived on Earth, is 93,000 lumens. That is a lumen, bitch. 20,000 lumens is the equivalent of a welding arc. I'm gonna need to wear eye protection or this thing's gonna burn my retinas. First, to do a little bit of work. Tube lights. This is going to take longer than a deformable, obviously, but it takes less than an hour. First, start with the socket outlet. Chances are you have one laying around the house. If not, they're $4 at Home Depot. Plug in the first tube into the outlet socket. Stretch out the cord and position the tube where you want it to go, keeping in mind that you want to be able to plug the next one into this one. The lights come with chains, hooks, screws, and drywall plugs. If you have them, speed things up by using drywall screws. The lights are light. I mean, light. They hardly weigh anything. You can mount the chains straight to the ceiling with drywall screws. Just don't swing from the lights like Shaq dunking a basketball and it'll be fine. Hook each chain onto the light to hang it. The second light, I'm using the anchors and screws attaching the light against the ceiling since it's next to the attic stairs. I put a couple of screws behind it so the light won't slide out of the slots and fall. I plugged the third light into the other side of the socket outlet. Then I repeated the process for the remaining two lights. The wires are only 4 feet long, which is actually kind of restrictive unless you're going in a straight line. But in a garage, you probably aren't going in a straight line. Finish the job off using cable clips to hold the wires in place. You can strategically place them in a way that the wires don't pull on the light so much that they hang weird. I've got one weird light. Turn on the light switch to test it. Done. That takes care of my main two bays, but I have a third bay. As you can see by this shot, it's pretty dark. When I work on this side of the truck, I feel like I'm in a back alley and I have to keep looking over my shoulder ready to throw a karate move. Karate! Anyway, first screw in the socket outlet. I have a glove on because the bulb was hot. Mark the location where the screws will go for the first light. This light will be mounted flush to the wall, so the screws have to be exactly 43 3/4 inches apart. Well, within 1/8 of an inch. And level, so that the light isn't crooked. Screw anchors that come with the lights. Drill 3/16 holes and pound them in with something resembling a hammer. Screw the screws, leaving them sticking out about 1/8 of an inch. Push the attachment holes over the screws and slide the light into place. The second light is hung in the exact same way, except opposite. The plug wires are both pointing toward the center of the garage. Find a cheap extension cord. If you don't have 50 of these already laying around the house, you can get them from Home Depot for $2. Plug the lights into the extension cord. Using cable clips or something similar, nail the wires up against the ceiling. This is not the neatest job. I only wanted to use one extension cord and I was in a hurry to get back to work on the Tacoma. There's a header on this side of the bay and I'm attaching the light to the underside of it. Same process, just upside down. The fourth and last light starts out the same, measuring and drilling holes and hammering in the anchors. This time I'm using hooks instead of screws. I doubled up the chains that came with the lights because I needed the light to hang below the tracks so they don't cast shadows. The light is hung and the wires are nailed into place. You can see that the truck is lit up like a showroom now. A really sloppy, dirty showroom, but lit up nonetheless. This before and after shows the difference. It was hard to compare the 1500 lumen standard LED bulb to the 8000 lumen 3-leaf deformable. It looks like the deformable is a bit brighter, but the standard bulb is 5000 Kelvin, so it's going to have a golden tone to it. I give it to the deformable, but it's not a great test. The 6-leaf 20,000 lumen compared to the 3-leaf 8000 lumen is the real test. The 6-leaf is brighter. The toolbox lid is lit up a bit better, as well as the wall behind it. Looking at the shadows cast by the ladder in this piece of wood, the 6-leaf diffuses the shadows a bit not really enough to be significant. You may have noticed that the 6th leaf wasn't quite like a welding arc. In fact, I'm staring straight into it while I adjust the leaves. Speaking of which, this is where I think these deformable styles are overhyped. I adjusted the leaves from pointing straight down to pointing straight out. The concept of putting the light where you want it just doesn't pan out. In fact, when they are pointed straight out, you lose some of the diffusion, so the shadows are a tad worse. The 20K 6th leaf is brighter than the standard bulb, but not by much. The tubes are obviously looking better. The 6th leaf has a harsher light and harsher shadows. The tubes have more of a natural light and it's obviously distributed to break up the shadows. Finally, the tube lights plus a standard LED bulb. Well, not much difference, but you know, there was an open socket and I had to put something in it. You know what else she said? I need you to like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1 million subs. I have 32,000 so far. I only have 968,000 to go. I hope this video does well. Did you notice that other than the tube lights, these all look pretty much the same? How is it that this 200 watt, 20,000 lumen LED is only a little brighter than a 13 watt, 1500 lumen standard bulb? I don't have a lux meter to test lumens, but I do have a watt power meter to test watts. LED efficiency varies, but in general, a 200 watt LED bulb will be about 15 times as bright as a 13 watt LED bulb, assuming they have similar efficiency. LED bulbs produce about 100 to 150 lumens per watt. First, to get a base level, I'll test the standard 13 watt bulb. Assuming the reported 1500 lumens is correct, that's 115 lumens per watt. And it comes in right on target at 12.6 watts. Now I'll test the 40 watt tube light. 35.7, a tad low, but I'm guessing an acceptable range. Assuming the reported 4400 lumens is correct, that's 125 lumens per watt. Here is the 80 watt 8000 lumen LED. 28 watts? That ain't 80. 28 would be 285 lumens per watt. Finally, the 200 watt 20,000 lumen LED. Yikes, 44 watts, which would be 454 lumens per watt. But using the nominal watt to lumen range, it would calculate to 5,500 lumens, which might be right because this is maybe a tad brighter than one tube light. These deformables have generally good reviews, but there is still a percentage of them failing, melting, and even catching fire. Considering the risk of failure and the obvious false advertising, even at 10 bucks, these aren't really worth it over a standard bulb. For an hour's worth of work, the tube lights are the best bang for the buck. Hey, it's that other channel guy.
Hola, I'm Mike from What Did Mike Do Now?
Did you steal my hola? And it seems like you changed the name of your channel.
Yeah, it turns out when you search for What Did I Do Now, only lame stuff shows up. Nothing cool like this, but you gotta put it in quotes. I'm working on it.
So what do you got going on now?
I was cutting down tree branches and barely survived. Or did I?
Wait, are you trying to tell me you didn't survive?
Although I give tips on how to trim branches safely, what I'm really doing is showing how not to do it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. I think people learn just as much from other people's mistakes. I try to highlight them as much as possible. Where did he... Why do I do this? Anyway, I promised a sneak preview of a future member of the show. Ratchet was a fan favorite, but unfortunately he got picked up in free agency, and I couldn't match the price. He wants everyone to know that he enjoyed his time on the channel and is currently enjoying his new gig. So who is the new member?
Meet Socket. I know what you're thinking. There's already a member on the team whose name is Socket, but that's the European Socket. This is the American Socket.
That's why we call him half-inch Socket. The other one's 10mm Socket. He'll be on the channel a little more in the future. He's still working on his stage presence. Oh, I've got a fan online. Hey fan, did you like the video?
That was brilliant. Very illuminating. You were bright. You just lit up the whole show. It was a spark of pure genius. Your radiance was just shining on display. Out of all your shows, that was a beacon in a sea of light. Way to glow.
Thanks, fan. Wow, usually your assessment of my videos are quite dim, but you really switch things up. You give great reviews no matter what. You're quite the luminary. If you were a fan of installing lights, I also installed lights in my attic. Kind of stole the thunder from that other guy, who has a video that you should definitely watch, where apparently he might die? Oh, I'm gonna call him Half-Inch Mike. Wait, I don't want to be the European one.
Meet Socket. I know what you're thinking.